Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central and another Omen by HP video. Of course, they are proud sponsors of the Overwatch League, as well as PC providers. Speaking of the Overwatch League, we're going to have a bit more of a deep dive in it today, but I did want to break down two major things. The first of which is the brief return of the boss comp and how that's evolved with the addition of Sigma. And if you don't know what the boss comp is, don't worry, we'll go over that too. Next, I want to talk about the rise of Talon. 4 of the 6 heroes used in the most meta composition in inverted commas are Doomfist, Reaper, Moira, and Sigma, all of which are members of Talon. Orisa and Lucio might be, they're just along for the ride unfortunately. But I did want to highlight why these heroes are being played and the general playstyles that you can expect. But I really wanted to highlight the boss comp first. For those that don't know, the boss comp was originally Bastion, Orisa, and Symmetra, and it was this like flying castle of Orisa placing down a shield, Bastion being able to just sort of sit behind it and do a lot of damage, and Symmetra to be able to teleport them around, debate an enemy team into diving on them, they just teleport away, they constantly move around, making it really difficult to take them down. It's been a while since we've actually seen this played by the pros, but with the addition of Sigma, and most importantly an extra S, we now have the defined boss comp BOSS. And this is something that Hangzhou Spark ran in the playoffs as was seen on screen. We have Orisa for the damage she can do, the shielding, the fortify, the CC. She's just the best main tank at the moment. She's backed up by Sigma, who has a lot of shields and surprisingly a lot of damage himself. Bastion, because you know, you can't have a boss comp without Bastion. Symmetra to teleport them around. And also for the amount of damage that she does to shields. Especially with Los Angeles Gladiators running double barrier, she can charge up off those barriers, as well as make a big old shield of her own. Supports Moira because she doesn't get affected by the double barriers and can output a lot of healing. I think the most popular support right now, and Baptiste's Immortality Field is obviously going to be great for compositions that are staying in the same spot. We don't have specific perspectives of being able to watch, say, Bazzi just on the Bastion, because this happened yesterday, we don't have the replays just yet, but you can already see how much fun this composition looks, especially watching it in the pro scene. To talk about why this is so successful for this point in the map, we need to talk about how Reaper and Doomfist play as DPS. Doomfist is just punching through the front line. He is not affected by any form of barriers, he is the projectile that he's firing, meaning that any form of barrier play doesn't stop him much at all. Because of that, there are CC options that Orisa, Sigma, and Lucio have, but nothing really that could stop a Doomfist right in his tracks unless there's a really well-timed accretion coming out of a Sigma. So a Doomfist in this meta does have a lot more freedom than some heroes. So you tend to see a Doomfist try and synergize with an Orisa's ult, pulling people close together, having Doomfist punch him against a wall and hope they get lucky. And because he has so much health, 250 plus shields when he does damage, it means that he has a high amount of sustain, making him a very tanky DPS, keeping himself alive. Very independent, really, too. For Reaper, it's more of the opposite. Doomfist isn't afraid to just look at you in the face and then punch you. Reaper's a bit more sneaky, but very aggressive in their playstyle. See, what you'll see from a lot of Reapers on screen, for example, is that they'll teleport into the backline very quickly. Of course, teleport now has a much quicker sort of response time of you teleporting, then you can move your character. The Reaper then jumps into the back, does as much damage as he can, maybe he gets a pick. Soon as the whole enemy team turn on that Reaper, he reforms back to his team. Quite nonchalantly, might I add, just like, oh, I'm gonna go, see you later guys. Then he does it over and over again. So you have the Doomfist jumping in from the front line, Reaper jumping in the back line, with the tanks of that composition, Orisa and Sigma, being very fluid in their movement. What does this have to relate to boss comp? Well, let's just watch that gameplay as well of Bazzi just teleport from side to side. He's not just doing this for fun, he's doing it for a very specific reason. It makes it impossible for anybody to dive on him. Reaper can't reach him up on this bongo unless he teleports right next to him, in which case he's gonna die. Doomfist has to use his uppercut just to get up there, but even then, Bazzi's teleporting from side to side, making it really difficult for Los Angeles Gladiators to dive on them. Everybody else on the Hangzhou Spark team is staying relatively close together, but most importantly, they're staying between the 2 points that the Bastion was teleporting, meaning that he can protect them either side. So it's like you have a Bastion teleported from A to C, and then the rest of Hangzhou Spark staying in B so they can help him either side. What's most important here to highlight after this first battle with Hangzhou Spark winning and getting the point is that Godspeed almost has his ultimate. In fact, he got it faster than anybody else on their team, even the Moira. and Moira gets her ult ridiculously quickly, showing how much Symmetra did in this specific fight. Los Angeles Gladiators had to change up a little bit, changing Raw over to the Wrecking Ball, meaning it's a little bit easier to try and jump on the Bastion, but it's certainly not advised. You have Los Angeles Gladiators try to be a bit more aggressive and rotate around, but you just see Hangzhou Spat keeping their distance. They don't really need to take engagements, especially when they're getting these picks as they go along. It gets to about 85% before Los Angeles Gladiators can really do anything at this point. We even see Void dedicating a big ultimate from Sigma, trying to pull everybody down, but Bazzi still gets a pick onto Raw, and I guess most importantly we do see IDK with an amazing immortality field keeping everybody alive. Bazzi's uncontested, the Symmetra's doing a ton of damage, they have full freedom, and they take this point in a very decisive fashion. And it's really nice to see something that was kind of created by a group of streamers making this really ridiculous composition, seeing it refined a little bit and actually working in the pro scene, in the playoffs no less, in a very obnoxious and oppressive meta. Did we see that composition again? No, unfortunately not. No doubt that's because they had the big bomb go to place a Bastion on in the center of the point. If there were maybe some other control maps where you had the high ground to just sit on like that might be possible. It's just really good map wise because it enables a Bastion to moderately keep his distance from people on the ground. Reaper and Doomfist have very close range, meaning that if you can keep them at arm's length, there's very little that they can do in that regard. That's not the only reason. It was also probably one of the strategies that only works once, so it did surprise Gladiators, but I could definitely see teams doing this a lot more as the meta progresses. I think it's a really good strategy to catch people out, and because of that, maybe worth trying in some comp games. We did see Bastion in the Vancouver vs Seoul match trying to defend first point as much as they could, and for a good amount of time it did seem to work, but eventually Seoul Dynasty were able to break through it. I quickly wanted to touch on why Bastion isn't being played more. I mean, it makes sense, right, because he puts up so much damage. He is probably one of the only DPS heroes that can consistently break those barriers coming in. I said I'm colorblind earlier this week for another video, but I did want to include what they said about why Bastion and how he's not very good in the barrier meta.
On paper, I thought Bastion would be amazing in this meta, but in practice, Bastion gets absolutely decimated by Sigma because like pretty much all of Sigma's abilities just destroy Bastion. The barrier recharges and repositions really quickly. His shift attack is it's a get out of jail free card, and most importantly, his accretion. But yeah, no, that ability is like that ability is the biggest counter to Bastion, because no matter how far you are from him, that the rock, when it hits Bastion, knocks him out of turret mode and stuns him for about 1.5 seconds, and that's a big problem.
Symmetra also had a few sort of bouts of playstyle, more so from the week before, in the gameplay that I'm again showing you on screen from Horizon Lunar Colony. It was used on attack, and you can see the strategy sort of coming out, just being able to dive straight onto the point and eventually get round to taking it. What's more surprising is that the Chengdu Hunters are able to take the second point pretty much straight away. They do have a lot of ultimates on their side, but they're able to break through by using a Symmetra ultimate. I would have liked to have seen Symmetra played a little bit more, especially into a lot of barriers, but it does make sense why some teams don't want to dedicate to her too much. But she can really melt certain targets on the enemy team, making her really good for these snowballing moments. It's just a shame to see a lot less of Symmetra and Bastion than I was hoping. Now that we've gone over how the boss comp was used, I do want to highlight the other Talon heroes that were picked up and how they generally play. We touched on Doomfist and Reaper in their DPS playstyle and how the boss comp tries to negate that, but I also wanted to touch specifically on Sigma. Now, we haven't actually done a video going over how the pros play Sigma. Maybe that's something that we'll go into a little bit more detail some other time. But the one thing that I did want to highlight from this gameplay of Marvel from the Seoul Dynasty is just how fluid the playstyle of Sigma is. It's not as straightforward as, oh, you're an Orisa with a Sigma, you just sit back, place your shields, play ultra conservatively, and keep your distance. In fact, with Sigma, you are playing incredibly aggressive, trying to close up the space as much as you can, using your dynamic shields in order to take space, and then you moving into that space. I think it's a really interesting playstyle that I would recommend you to check in the Overwatch League postseason replays, because the general playstyle of Sigma, as you've seen on screen, is a lot more different to how players may imagine it. And I don't know about you, looking at this gameplay makes me want to play a lot more Sigma than I previously wanted to. In fact, the aggressive playstyle of this composition was something that Los Angeles Gladiators really used to their advantage. Sideshow pointed it out in Watchpoint, but you saw how aggressively Los Angeles Gladiators want to take space, especially with Hangzhou trying to attack at this point. As soon as they try and come through the doors in King's Row, the Gladiators close at distance and come out very aggressively. This is usually matched with a lot of abilities such as Orisa's Fortify to keep her alive, and maybe even a Coalescence coming out of the Moira. The reason why I wanted to bring all of this up in a tight little bow is simply because I don't think this meta is as boring as others may make it out to be. I get the whole conception of there's a lot of DPS at this point that are nullified because they can't do damage close up, like a McCree or a Soldier can't really do anything in this meta because they can't break through barriers very quickly. But that means that this meta is going to be really slow. It's going to be like Bunker, Double Sniper, where it's just try and get a pick and then push forward. It's really not the case. The Gladiators are really shown how aggressive this composition can be played and how much fun it is to watch in a lot of senses. I really like the fact that Doomfist Reaper is meta, at least to watch. This isn't really a thing in the games that I've had this season as of yet. I mean, Double Barrier is definitely with Sigma Orisa, but you can tend to work around it. We've gone over quite a few different things in this video. There's not a specific thing that I really wanted to focus on, but just to sort of recap, Boss Comp has been used by some of the pros in a really exciting fashion, how that's related to Sigma, and also touching on why Symmetra Bastion aren't played a lot more than maybe some people were hoping, but also how the DPS of Doomfist, Reaper, and the additional Talon heroes of Sigma and Moira play in this more Talon focused meta, but mostly how this double barrier meta as a whole really isn't as cut and dry as you may be thinking. The meta is evolving at a really rapid rate, like we're not sticking on any compositions for every single week, and I do think that there's going to be a case of maybe Blizzard nerfing elements like Sigma or Orisa especially, but I also feel like given time, pros will be able to work out what's really good against double barrier and find a way to counter it. I don't think things are as bad as people are making it out to be, and there's obviously that notion that YouTubers hate certain metas when they happen and they want certain heroes being nerfed. I really don't hate this meta at all, but I've seen a lot of people pick up on the fact that Orisa is incredibly strong. All of her kit is a little bit overtuned because of Goat's Comp way back when, and I think that she is due a nerf sometime soon. That's the only thing that I sort of agree with at this point that needs bringing down a notch. But I'm wondering what you guys think. Thanks for watching, and thanks again to Omen by HP for helping support this video. You can check all of their details out in the description below. Take care, we'll see you next time.